few hundred people to my show in Dublin the other night, and I found it slightly less intimidating because they were further away. And it's and apparently when you're in these situations, if you're a bit nervous, you have to imagine everybody in front of you is naked. There you are. So there we are. So I'll keep that imagination myself. So a little history about the Stallion Company, because I absolutely am not here to tell you breeds from my stallions. If you've got a catalogue, you've got a catalogue. You're not like my stallions, you'll possibly buy my breeding. But that's really not why I'm here, because there's a lot of other things to be talked about, which are a little bit more important than my stallions. So a little history. In actual fact, I've only been a stallion owner since April the 23rd, 2009. So that's nearly 7 years. And I had the opportunity to buy Graf and Stoltz. I was already his agent, and I was selling some breedings for Thomas Casper from Burkhoff. And we had the opportunity to buy Graf as an eventing horse, and Ollie Townend was very interested, sat on the horse, never sat on anything like it in his life. It just was ballooning everything. And you'd have actually seen, unfortunately, 4 men around the table eating pizza, nearly in tears, as we found he had a little hole in, a little murmur in his heart. And it was a 3 out of 6 musical murmur, and Ollie said, "I'm my Olympic horse, and I'm not going to be riding into the Olympics now," which is a shame, because he'd have gone and he'd have won. So the price drops fairly drastically, but he was still a couple €100,000, and I nearly bankrupted myself to buy him. And the rest sort of went from there. 4 months later, I bought Canaan and sold the part back to the GFE. Just to rewind a little bit, I didn't start out as a rich guy actually, but the company was started with €5,000. And just how extraordinarily good bank in France. Who, when I approached them and I said, I'd like to borrow this money to buy a stallion. Now, I used to work in banking in the city in London, and go to HSBC or anything like that and say, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to borrow a couple €100,000 to buy a stallion, please." Once the guys got up off the floor, holding his ribs from laughing so much, he'd hand you a leaflet saying, "Go and buy a car for €15,000, buy a depreciating asset as a good lad." But actually, the Credit Agricole in France is an agricultural bank, and the guy took me very seriously. And it was only when he, with his French accent, managed to pronounce Grafenstolz perfectly. I was, "How do you know this name?" We were the sponsors when he was the world champion. I put the sash around his neck. This is a village of 3,000 people. It was extraordinary. There are the forms, get them filled out, and there is a load of stuff off some internet forums where people are looking for a seaman, and he owed me €6,000 just like that. So, fantastic bank that are really supporting me. And then I asked if I could borrow the money for Canaan. I was feeling a bit full of myself, but I'm sure they'll lend me this. And actually in Normandy they have a lending manager for stallions, for horses. You can't believe such a thing could exist. And they put me through, and the guy said, "The Canaan?" And I said, yeah, I think so, unless there are 2. He said, no, there was only one Canaan. I said, "It's him," and he said, "That's the best investment of your life." Well, there's a banker who actually knew what he was talking about. And there it is. From there I sort of quickly, don't worry. From there I started to accelerate fairly quickly, always reinvesting, keeping myself poor as a church mouse, just because these guys are going to die at some point. My factories die, other people's keep manufacturing for 30 or 100 or 200 years. My guys in the end pop their clogs, and let's go and clone them. So you always, as a stallion owner, sort of, you spend all of your life quite paranoid, but so I had to reinvest. I moved on to Parco, and then since then, as if any of you keep an eye on what the Stallion Company does, I mean, in the last couple of years, the expansion's been quite drastic. Recently bought Cormint and Christo from the Holsteiners. They are stallions that within 2 years will go into the top 100. I'm a stats man. I used to be a foreign exchange trader in the city. So watching cycles, wave patterns. I actually sit on the beach with my little boy counting the seconds between waves as they arrive. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that. Patterns and cycles is what I look at, and I look for the stallions like Bentley, Van der Heffink, or Triumph de Meuse and Quintero, and right, what's the pattern of their kids, where are they going, what are they doing? Actually, you can all look at, I have no more access to the information than you have. Go on Horse Telex, click on Progeny, take a look, all the 160s, 150 horses, it's all there for you, and you should do the research in the same way as I do. The aim is always to have as many top 100 stallions as I can possibly have. I own 5 at the moment, which, because most of the top 100 are dead or infertile, it's sort of quite a decent percentage. I do chase the rankings. I do go for those because it adds credibility. Otherwise, it's just me going blah 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 blah. Isn't he a fantastic stallion and all that? Whereas I can actually say, well, look, take a look at this stallion. Look at the progeny that he's had. We have breeding profiles of all the stallions. So in the case of Montero, we know that during the first 5 years of his breeding career, he put on the ground 30.8 foals a year. I don't want to see the 0.8. And now he finds himself at number 74 in the world rankings. He has a higher strike rate than Canaan and Diamond and Cornet. So there we are. So that's a little bit about how I think about how I choose my stallions. I take it for granted, but I will say that they must have excellent mother lines. Without the excellent mother lines, you're nowhere. Concentration of jumping genes, concentration of performance genes, that is what it is. When people talk to me, oh yeah, but so many of the mares in England are so crap, well, we don't know that necessarily. Some of them will be Flossie, the spotty mare that used to take you around for a day's hunting or whatever, and it'd be nice to have a foal from her. That's fine, I'm never going to say to anyone, don't do that. But it's all about this concentration of the jumping genes. Look in these mother lines. Take Joris de Brabander as an example of Demus. The man is a legendary breeder, but he concentrates on his mother lines. Always the mother line, always the mother line. So there we are. So that's a brief history of the Stallion Company. Right now, what am I doing? Well, this is actual Dublin dust on my boots. I just flew in from Dublin from my new centre, which we opened over the weekend. And January next year, we open another centre in Saint-Lô, which is the capital of show jumping in France. And then we start to look during 2017 to open a new centre in Johannesburg, and then by the end of the year in Shanghai. Just to give you an idea about Shanghai, it's on an island. It's a 600-acre equestrian park that's being built at the moment. They broke ground 1st of February. It will be finished by the end of this year. Welcome to China. And they're in the process of installing 1,000 boxes. I don't even know what that looks like. 1,000 boxes. It's extraordinary. And that is where they're going to be holding the Global Champions Tour once it's finished, which is currently in Shanghai, but it will move to that island. So, yes, global domination is what we're all about at the Stallion Company.